Hello, this is Matthew Chan, the host of extortionletterinfo.com, and with my partner in crime, Oscar Michelin. And for the very first time, we're providing a video update of the extortion letter info on video cam. And it's really, technology is great. If you guys haven't seen the earlier videos, you'll remember like 2 years ago, Oscar flew down to Atlanta on some business, and we had the opportunity to meet for the very first time. And not only did we have a chance to meet, we were able to get our camcorder out and really talk in person and get it all recorded. Well, since then, we haven't had a personal visit. We've been doing the updates through the telephone. But through the magic of technology, once again, we get to do a video together, even though you're in New York and I'm here in Georgia.
How are you? Back good to see you again.
Well, great. So anyway, I hope our audience likes this. They get to see both of us, our two talking heads as we provide the latest update, which is actually a serious matter. But anyway, you gotta try to smile through some of this, right?
I hope so, because if not, it'll make you cry. That's how crazy it is.
Okay. All right. So anyway, you listeners, there's no time like the present. There's the assumption that you would have watched the videos and listened to the audios before. So we're not going to retread all of the history in there. We're just going to get right into it. As we make this recording, it's March 25th on a Friday afternoon. And so what's the status, Oscar? What's going on with the Getty Images settlement demand letter? What's going on with Corbis, master file? Just give us a quick, all-encompassing update for our...
quick update.
Yeah.
Okay, quick update. Well, first of all, the steam train is continuing. Getty issuing hundreds of and thousands of letters, I think, a week. So it's still going forward. The robots from PicScout, continue to find, these images and, create these claim letters that are going out all across the country and, frankly, all around the world. So we've been busy, still responding, having people come to the site, having people email both of us, with more questions, and we do encourage folks to please take the time and look at the posts, look at the documents that we have out there, and look at the various forum topics. One of the things that Matt and I have particularly enjoyed is that we have a couple of regular contributors to the forum that we really appreciate, who give great insight,
Thank you very
do
much,
some of their own research. You know who you are.
Yes. And
it's very much appreciated that we see that there's other voices other than Matt and ours and mine who are trying to give people some information about this. So what we're trying to do now, Matt, quite frankly, is, we're trying to get it to the point where we can try to resolve these claims globally, maybe try to figure out what's the right path for some of these claims. One of the things that we've noticed is that particularly in cases involving a single image, they brought their demands down to $850 and then $600, where it used to be, all of them were $1,000, and some of them now even still at $1,225. Yeah. So I think we've definitely seen a trend that Getty is coming down in their demands, and that's to be commended. One of the things that you and I have always said from the beginning is we encourage people to make sure they know where their images are coming from, okay? These images belong to people. Just because it comes up in a Google search or it's on a template site perhaps, or any other number of places that you get them, make sure you check out where these images are coming from. And we have a couple of places on our site, by the way, that tell you how to avoid the digital image companies entirely, so you're sure you're safe, and stay away from stock photography. But if you can't do that, then make sure you have a license. Make sure the license allows you to do what you want to do with the image, and be very, very wary of that. So we've never, ever, ever said that we don't feel that Getty, Corbis, Mashpal, don't have a right to bring these claims. It has always been the manner in which they do it and the amount of damages that they look for. That's always been gripe number one, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been our point that the minute you get this letter, take the images down. Whether the image company is correct in its claim or not, a stock photo is not worth a legal battle. Take the image down, cease and desist from using the image, and then replace it with an image that you can trust and rely upon. So we're very thankful to see that all the image companies, frankly, are coming down in numbers and getting to kind of a more sensible range for some of these images. So we're hopeful that's a sign that maybe we can start having some meetings with them and try to figure out what's a rational method of resolving these issues.
Well, Oscar, I want to bring up a couple things. I think all in all, over time, I think the educational level of our community has definitely grown. Everyone sort of gets the idea, look, there's a disputed image, they take it down. I don't think that's an issue that gets brought up anymore, and no one's fighting to keep the image. They don't care enough about it. So that's issue number one, that's out of the way. Issue number two is I think people have gotten the message that to not just go dark, make an attempt to resolve this and answer it. But where I see things going off the ditch is that they don't listen. And I guess, I don't know, it's part of it is maybe because they've got college kids working it that can't make the distinction between a large business and enterprise, which is something more malicious, or versus something like a mom and pop, or it was a nonprofit thing, or they just can't seem to make that distinction. Everybody gets thrown under the bus is really what that's a big problem I have. They can't seem to have to make that distinction. I don't know what it is.
Right. And I think we see that continuing. And I think part of the reason, Matt, is because, particularly in Getty's case, I think the digital image catalog is so large, millions of images, and the number of these claims are so vast and numerous that I don't know that they want these folks who are named, as copyright specialists, I think is the name they use on their letters or whatever, to be they don't want them to be in the business of making those judgment calls, okay? I think they want to tell them, this is our protocol, this is what it is, and, don't make a judgment call. That's not your prerogative.
I guess.
Mom and pop, because I'll tell you something, they don't seem to be going after large companies. It only seems to be mid to small companies that are getting these letters. We haven't seen Getty take on some Fortune 500 company that used one of its images on its website. It always seems to be these smaller mom and pop type of operations, single business owners, hobbyists, those types of folks who are getting these claim letters. So I think the reason that you're seeing they don't have discretion is because Getty is telling them, we don't want you to have discretion. This is it. Get this number. And if they don't, give it to NCR Recovery, which is a collection agency, and let them handle and push and fight and email and hassle you. And then if that doesn't happen, they send it to a guy named, Tim McCormick, who's a lawyer out in Seattle, and he ups the ante and sends a whole lawyer's letter. So they have a very clear system as to how many times they're going to call you, how many times they're going to try to contact you before it's taken to the next level. And I think particularly because they're dealing with young folks who are representing the company, by and large, they just don't want them to have a lot of discretion. Okay. They want them to follow the company line.
That makes sense. Now, speaking of which, there is something that's relatively new even to me. I've heard it mentioned on the forums, but I have not seen a copy of this letter. There's an escalation letter, or what was the phrase that was being used? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, it's a no.
Tell me about it.
It's the same horse with a different saddle, as we would say. It's just the second or third letter from Getty is now called a notice of case escalation. And what I'll do is I'll make sure next week to send you a copy of one. so that we can get it posted on the site and people can see what it looks like.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
So it's really just it really just replaces the second or third letter that Getty sends to folks, and I guess it's a method to try to get people to be a little bit more focused, on resolving this and not just ignoring it. We always tell people, say, "Oh, can I just ignore it?" And I say, well, as an attorney, I would never advise you to ignore someone who says they have a claim against you.
Right.
Figure out what your position is. Try to make a reasonable settlement offer to them. We advise every client to try to make a reasonable settlement offer to them, even if they don't think Getty is going to accept it. You want to be on record as at least having tried to pay a fair value for the use of an image that, frankly, probably wasn't yours to use. Yeah. So, don't hide your head in the sand, like you said before, Matt. Try to face it head on. Try to deal with it. And then chances are you'll find that the case won't be escalating so much, and maybe you can resolve it, or if you contact us, maybe we can send out a letter and try to resolve it for you.
Yeah, I think there's nothing that upsets people more than just simply ignoring it. I think it spurs people on, whereas if you've made an attempt, they may not like that you're fighting, but I still come from the school of thought that you do have a track record. So if you ever did end up going to court, with or without you, Oscar, there was some goodwill versus saying, you know what, you're going to try to live like a cockroach and run into the night, you know what I mean, and to stay in the dark. So that's just my view
Sure.
on it.
And like, for example, we're focusing on Getty, but there's other digital image warehouses that are engaging in this program. Masterfile and Corbis are the two largest after, and they're much more litigious than Getty. Their images are registered images, so they can get statutory penalties and potentially legal fees. Yeah. And they are not to be ignored. They should be addressed. You really should retain counsel if you get contacted by either of those companies, and make an effort to try to resolve them, because they've sued over single infringements. They've sued over 4 images. So it's a whole different kettle of fish when you deal with Masterfile.
Okay.
And Corbis.
All right. Let me hit another topic real quick here. It's come up on the forums. Let's talk about the ongoing traffic. I mean, I also want to touch a little bit about our discussion earlier year. A lot of people didn't know, it's not publicly known, that I really was seriously contemplating shutting down this site. And I just want to give public acknowledgement to Oscar that he really kind of talked me out of it and has, found ways to help me further the cause. And I'm only bringing this up because Oscar really believes in it. And I really want to take the opportunity to dispel the myths that we're making out like bandits. I'm telling you, I've said it over and over. This is not something I ever want to become known for. Okay? I mean, I don't mind a little bit of fame and some notoriety, but not in this. I don't want to be known for this, but that's kind of how it's kind of fallen. So it's like you and I are, known by at least thousands of people now around the world because of this. So anyway, the thing I want to tell people is that traffic has picked up, as you said, Oscar, right? They just keep going and going and going. And so readership has been climbing,
absolutely,
exceeding my expectations. So, Oscar, tell people your thoughts about the servicing, as far as turnaround time and that kind of thing.
Right. I mean, one of the things that people have to realize, hopefully, is that we're really trying to do this as a method of giving people information in an area that really nobody else is talking about. And so while it's important to both Matt and I at the same time, it's not the only thing that we're dealing with.
Yes.
I have a very busy practice. I'm a litigator here in New York. I'm a law professor. I've got a number of things that occupy my time, and sometimes it's hard to reach me. As a matter of fact, I know that if the folks from Getty and Masterfile are watching this video, I know that they know when they try to email me to discuss certain cases that it could take a lot to get me to come back to them because I'm so busy sometimes, and these cases, are only a very small portion of my practice. So I ask people for both Matt's sake and I to be patient. We will always respond to you. We try to respond, as quickly as possible. We're trying to get the turnaround time to be less than 72 hours, which is what it normally is. And, particularly times get a little cagey when I'm on trial. When a litigator is on trial, it's usually 8 hours straight out of the courtroom, and you come back and you work through the night to get ready for the next day. There's barely time to speak to my family, much less look at, emails and deal with my various websites. So it can get a little crazy. I understand that. And the last thing I want to do is add to the stress of the situation. So I just appreciate your patience. Yeah. And I know that both Matt and I are doing whatever we can to get back to you, to respond, to get the letters out if you retain us, and to be as responsive to you as possible. So.
Right. Now, the thing about it is, I just want everyone to know, just reiterate, it's just Oscar and I are the only ones. We have no employees. We got no helpers except for a couple of the contributors on the forum. I mean, just the two of us, and we have to do this very part-time. There is no budget of anything. If anything, we have to kind of pay it out, in time and resources. And we're not looking for sympathy. We just would like a little bit of consideration and let people know that the onslaught has not stopped. And it's just not practical for Oscar and I to be able to, handhold everybody. So we would ask you, please bring yourself up to speed. Education is the best level. Don't come in cold and say, well, what do I do, when there's like tons of information already out there. So would you agree with that, Oscar?
Right. Yeah, I know what Matt's talking about is we get a forum post, for example, says, I just received a letter, what should I do? And, we respond to every forum post. Yeah, and we respond to every forum post. We'll respond to you. But the response is going to be, read the posts that are already there. Educate yourself. There's a summary of the legal issue that's on there. That's the best place to start. Look at some of the videos. The purpose of the website.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. The purpose of the website is information. Number one is to be informed.
Right.
What's the nature of the claim? What's this all about? How did I get involved in this? How did I get caught up in this? What does, Getty expect? What are my legal rights? What are Getty's and master files, corpuses? What are their legal rights? So you save us a lot of time when you're able to try to educate yourself in those preliminary basic issues. And then we'll be glad to deal with topics that, are a little bit more technical that come after that.
Yes.
Or, we have some really, really intelligent folks who are out there putting some great questions and topics on the forums that neither Matt or I had really thought about, and that are opening up, a great deal of discussion, and we really appreciate that. So I think what Matt in particular is saying is, hey, before you panic and throw out a generic question, check first to see whether the forum answers the question for you through the various posts and topics that are already on the site.
Well, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, Oscar, I mean, I perfectly can understand the stress levels and the fear and all that, but I can promise you the fear and stress will go down significantly when you understand the issues, when you get educated. Okay, and you also need to realize you are not being singled out. You are among thousands. There's nothing, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but there's nothing special about your case. You're just one of many. So take peace in that you're not being distinctly targeted.
Right.
So,
Just to summarize, right. That's an excellent point. To summarize it very quickly, a little robot found your site. It matched your images to some digital image warehouse's catalog, and a computer-generated letter was written. And now you got to deal with it. That's the issue in a nutshell.
Right.
So keep that in mind, and you can resolve these claims. It's not going to take up your entire life. It's not going to destroy your business. No. You got to try to figure a way to get to a point where you can resolve it. To your satisfaction and the digital image company's satisfaction, and so that both sides can, move on with their lives. They can go on to their next letter recipient, and you can go back onto the business that got you to put up the website in the first place.
Okay, and just in the spirit of sharing information, those of you who missed the post, I mean, we hit an all-time peak in January of 7,000 unique visitors, which is way more than I could have ever imagined. And I ran through the statistics, and we've got people checking at least 2 times a day. It's about 2.5 times a day. So I've done the math and trying to correlate where the people are coming from, and what's going on. Oh,
probably Getty and Getty and Masterfile. Those guys are coming back every.
Yeah, we've had all kinds of countries. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the international readership of our site is really much higher than I could have ever imagined, and you really couldn't tell if you actually looked on the forums because most of them are U.S. based. But the international community is definitely reading what the U.S. folks are saying. So, guys, if you don't think that your posts are being read, they are, and it's a good way. It's a good thing. People are being educated.
Right. One of the things I know, Matt. Well, one of the things that I know you and I have been very frustrated about is, I can't help somebody. In England. I can't help somebody in Japan, Germany, Holland, Africa. I mean, I can list to you at least 15 countries where, we have had, outside the U.S., of course, and Canada, where we've had people contact us over Getty or Masterfile related issues. And, I got to tell them, I can't really help you. Every country has its own laws and the right for lawyers to practice, within that country. And we've never really found a companion in like the UK or in Australia or in Germany, the Netherlands, where a lot of these letters are coming, in Japan and Singapore, where we've received a lot of contact from the Far East, asking, what should I do? What should I do? And I say, well, you're going to have to get a IP lawyer in your country, unfortunately. So, if someone's out there watching who happens to be admitted to practice in that area and wants to know what to do, we would love for you to contact us, and put up your information as to the country that you're in. Once we see that you're able to handle these issues, that you're willing to abide by our standards, which are keeping the fees down, just trying to help people out. It's not a money-making operation. We're just trying to give people a place to turn to, and that you'll be responsive to even folks who maybe aren't going to retain you for a letter or what have you. But we welcome someone to come along and say, hey, I'm willing to do this for folks in the UK, because the need is out there. In the UK,
and you'll
Far
be a
East,
hero
in particular,
to so many people.
Yeah, it'd just be great. It would just be, I got to tell you, it's been a real benefit in many ways to me. Obviously, I've met other clients through it. I've met people from all across the country. It's very rewarding. You get lots of, as you know, Matt, lots of great correspondence. People thanking you for the information that you provided, that you've helped them, sleep through the night for the first time since they got the letter, things of that nature. So it's a very rewarding experience to try to get this information out to people and help them through this process.
Well, I'm a bit of the reality check guy. I mean, I think we've come to the conclusion that a lot of people really don't give a shit about this issue, and they're not going to until the whole package ends up on their doorstep. It's just kind of amazing how that works. And then all of a sudden, here they are at our doorstep, beating down the doors trying to email us. So anyway, that's kind of the way it is for now.
It's true.
Okay.
Well, we'll keep you guys updated. We'll keep you guys updated as things go along. Check back to the site from time to time. I don't know that you need to do it twice a day, but certainly once a week. Questions, information, advice, whatever you'd like as far as it relates to this issue, you can find it on the website, extortionletterinfo.com. And listen, we're open to suggestions. If you think there's ways we could improve it, if you think there's things that we ought to be discussing that we're not discussing, things that we're discussing that you think we shouldn't be talking about, let us know. The site's there for the community. The community has responded. We appreciate that. We expect it to continue growing. Matt's done a fantastic job in where this website comes up. When you put in any of these companies' names or the digital image issue, you're going to find us. You're going to be drawn to the site, and you're going to see that 90% of your questions is going to be answered by the information that's already out there. So please avail yourself of that opportunity, and we hope it helps you to resolve your issue. And if not, you can reach out to us, and we'll be glad to see what we can do to steer you in the right direction.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Oscar. As we wrap up this little update, I did want to share with all of you listeners, if you are interested, Oscar and I have launched a brand new internet TV show called Courtroom Strategy. It's really based on his blog, courtroomstrategy.com, but the video format and the show format allows us to go into various legal topics and issues, far beyond, what you guys know us for, the Getty Images, settlement demand letter issue. We talk about other things, so you may want to check this out. And if you like us, us talking about the different legal things, feel free to email us as well. So we hope you like that show. All right. Well, on behalf of Oscar and I, thanks for taking the time to look at this update, and we'll see you on the next update or on the forums. Thank you.
Have a good day.